Good, because that's the one we need. All right, so Shalom. Let's start off
Shalom.
by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh,
Yahweh, Bahasham,
Bahashem, Yahweh Shai,
Yahawashi,
Bahashem,
Bahasham,
Rakah Kodash.
Shekinah.
Double honors unto the elders and apostles of great millstone that rule well. And shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. I am the brother Kalab, and I'm joined by the brother I'm Noah Allah, and we're both from the GMS UK London Forecasters Camp, and we're coming back at you with another lesson to help edify uh, the hopeful elect through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Now, before I start, I want to reiterate what many of you who follow know, but some of you who maybe new may not know that this message is predominantly for you Israelites, which is, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans predominantly, but you will find Israelites that look like the other nations because we as a people have been scattered among all nations to our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite no matter what you may look like, because the book of Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18, Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18 tells you that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. And on the flip side of that, we're here to condemn you Edomites. Who are the Edomites? Esau was the twin brother of our forefather Jacob. So Esau is the progenitor of you so-called white people on the face of the earth today. The vast majority of you go back to the seed of Esau, and you're the Edomites, which are known as the wicked in the Bible. But again, don't get it twisted. You are going to find some people who may have leprosy because their blood shows forth through their skin. You may have some people who have that biblical leprosy who may look like a white person, but if their seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then they're Israelites, no matter what they look like. So in today's lesson, we're going to get into this video here that I've wanted to do a lesson on for quite some time, but for some reason, the spirits had it to where I've kept putting it at the back of the deck in terms of the shuffle of videos to talk about. But the spirit was on me this week to really get into this, so I thought it would be a good lesson for the both of us to go into, me and the brother I'm Rawat Allah here. So we're going to do that right now. This video is basically from the 1980s, and it goes into the inner workings of Satanism. Now, Satanism is something that people try to dismiss and discredit that it exists in the mainstream media, because they know it will cause deep-seated feelings and emotions to come out of people if they were to admit that Satanism really does exist. Because even your most ardent atheist, right, someone who doesn't believe in the Lord, if they knew what really happened in Satanism, they would get angry, and they'd want to seek justice, and they'd want to see these people brought to justice, even though they may claim to be an atheist, because there's something about the inner workings of the dark works of witchcraft that stirs something up in the human soul. It causes a lot of anger and frustration, and a desire for people to see justice. So that's why the media has swept this under the carpet and kept it hidden for the longest time. But obviously, we know that these things have been taking place because the scriptures have told us that these things take place. Bear with me a second while I just find the precept here.
I got a precept, if I may, Baba Kushar.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the book of Isaiah 59 and 15. It reads, "Yeah, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment." So, as Kalab is saying, there's a lot of evil that takes place in this world, but pretty much what happens is it gets swept under the carpet, man. And you have the media who deliberately don't cover certain things because, as you said, it stirs up certain human emotions within an individual, as it should. So, and pretty much because Esau at the top has the power over these media outlets, they're able to control the distribution of information and misinformation being put out there. So he's able to seemingly get away with all his wickedness. But, the Heavenly Father, it says, and the Lord saw it, because it's the Lord in all caps, so Yahweh saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. So what's he gonna do? Verse 16 reads, and he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. So he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head, and he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. And ultimately, this is talking about how the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, will repay, but through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, because his name, the name Yahweh Shai, literally translates to he deliverer, or he is salvation. So all this wickedness that we're about to get into in this video, there is going to be a recompense against it, and when that time comes, just one more verse 19, it says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Because as we read earlier in this chapter, he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. So by us taking our time out to bring out the wickedness that this devil was getting up to behind the scenes, and preaching and prophesying, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, wisdom cry within the streets, as it says in Proverbs 1, we're actually making ourselves a prey, but we ain't got to worry about that. We're going to speak freely until the Heavenly Father causes our tongues to cleave to the roof of our mouths, because we know that when that time comes, when Esau and our enemies are going to come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord is going to lift up a standard against them. That's what I've got to say.
Right. Good. Well, very well made. I'm just looking through my computer here, and YouTube's fucking about because
Yeah.
I've got a playlist that's called GMS, where I put videos that I see that are pertinent to the truth. I add them to this folder called GMS because sometimes you might get ideas for lessons
Yep.
or topics, and I save them to this playlist. I'm on my computer now, and I'm going to my playlist history. It's got a folder for everything else except GMS. So I'm looking at this and thinking, what the fuck's going on? There it is. Now they've added it. I had to refresh the page. YouTube straight fucking around, man.
Yep.
So okay, now I found the folder. I can get into this video because on this video that I've sent you, there should be a comments section, because I want to read some of the comments people have left on the video, because the previous version of the video that I sent you, comments were disabled. So that's why I was looking for it. So bear me a second while I get it up on the screen here.
Yep. So good.
Sluck it, audience. Bear with us for a second.
And you see, you got a lot of people. Sorry,
Go ahead and speak. I said, go ahead and speak for a second while I find this.
All right. Yeah, I was gonna say, this video that we're about to get into, you got a lot of people out there in the world that will pretty much experience cognitive dissonance and just outright reject what's going to be revealed here, because it's easier to just act like these things ain't happening than to actually come to terms with the fact that Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and with that comes wickedness, and this is just one of the many forms of wickedness that we see being played out with the world being given into the hand of the wicked.
Right, I finally found it. Well said. I finally found the correct video, and I brought it up on the screen so we can get into it now. I want to bring a precept out before we start. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, starting at verse 3. It says, "For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatedest for doing the most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices,
Mm.
and those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and the feasts of blood, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help. That the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of the Most High's children. So we know that land that was spoken of is the land of Israel. But what have you got in the land of Israel right now? You've got the wicked living there, being those
Mm.
Edomites, chiefly being the house of Amalek, which is what the world has to refer to as the small hats, because they control all the industries to where they've made anti-Sem uh, an uncontestable fact in the minds of the people. Like, oh, if you say anything that's anti-Sem, we've got to cancel you. We've got to shut down your channel. We've got to delete you from all ban you from social media, outcast you from society because you've dared to speak against the people who are pulling the puppet strings. But we know that's all bullshit, because if you go back throughout history, um, could you, Baba Kashar, get me Book of Job 30 verse 7? I think it's verse 7 or 30 and verse 5. One of those two, Baba Kushar.
Mm-hmm. Gladly. Which one is it? Among the bushes they braid, or
No,
the
they
Job
cried
among
after them
men?
as a thief. Cried after them
Come
as
again.
after a thief. They cried after them as after a thief.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Bear with me.
Look, this verse is right there. Job 30 and verse 5. That's what I called for.
Oh, Salakia. This is Job 30 and verse 5. It says, they were driven forth among men. They cried after them as after a thief.
Right, so that scripture there is talking about Esau, right? And the reason why they were driven forth from among men and why they cried after them as they cried after a thief is if you go back into the history, which is what Esau's tried to delete from the history books. But the truth is that they've been doing these ritual blood sacrifices of children for the longest time. So that's why they were driven forth from among men, because in the ancient world, people knew what these small hats were up to. And they knew that they were kidnapping children, sacrificing them to their God, and devouring their flesh. That's why we didn't want them anywhere around us. So that's why we cried after them as after a thief. Now, I believe the term that the small hats made to try and discredit that, I think they called it blood libel, where they tried to say, oh, the reason why other nations hate us is because they made up terrible lies about we're doing this and we're doing that. But we just keep to ourselves, and we live in our little communities, and we're not doing anything wrong, and we're being persecuted. No, they've twisted the narrative. They've twisted
Mm,
the narrative from what it really was, because people in the ancient world knew what time it was with these small hats. That's why they kept moving around, because nobody wanted them anywhere near them, because they of their wicked works and their wicked deeds, right? Now, if you could, Baba Kashar, get me Genesis, the 4th chapter, where it says, as a fugitive and a vagabond, thou will be on the earth, Baba Kashar. The water, because that
oh,
fulfills that scripture. Them being driven forth from among men. Yeah, we use that scripture to talk about when they were driven into the wilderness as well, when they were braying among the nettles and acting like brute beasts. But it also applies to their wider uh, history. So if we go back to Genesis, the 4th chapter, where it says, a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth.
yep. This is Genesis chapter 4, and I'll start at 13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
Right, so the Lord put a mark upon Cain, and he put you could call it a blessing as well, that if anybody slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold. So the Most High did have a little bit of mercy on Esau, But that time of Esau receiving mercy for his wickedness is coming to an end. Now he's entering into the time of full, unrestrained judgment. Now, before that judgment will come, Esau will be made bare. And
Ooh, I
that's what
got
we're
that
seeing
piece
right
like
now.
that.
Bring it out, Baba Kashaw.
Yes, sir. This is Jeremiah 49 and verse 10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not."
That's right. So Esau is being made bare. So all of this truth is coming out on his ass to expose the dark deeds that the elites of the nation of Esau have been doing. And that applies to you, your Edomite politicians, your Edomite celebrities. And it also applies to those who have joined hand in hand with those small hats. So you've got some of our people who have made it up into Esau's higher echelons of society in terms of being an actor or maybe a sports star, a basketball player, a football player, whatever it may be, musicians, those who have entered into Esau's, how do you say, Esau's, how do you call it?
They've been opening them doors.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a word to describe it. They've entered into higher society than your regular Jake,
The
and they're
upper
kind of
echelons.
yeah, the upper echelons. They're esteemed now. You know, people look to those people as great individuals who, oh, you know, they've been successful, they've made it. But when you come to realize the truth, it wasn't about their talent. It wasn't about how good they could sing or dance or rap or how many basketball 3-pointers they could shoot. It really all boiled down to how low they were prepared to bend the knee to Satan. Because that's how you
Yeah.
advance in the society, is by bending the knee and bowing down to Satan. So before I talk anymore, because I'll be talking all day, let's play this video.
Yep.
Now, this is straight from the horse's mouth. And, you know, with what's going on in the world now, these things are being, you know, brought back to light. So let's get into this.
Made me abort the babies I had.
It would be hard to imagine more misery and suffering than what Teresa says she's had to endure.
And us kids would be made to do things with the adults and the animals. And then a sacrifice would happen.
The sacrifice, were these animal sacrifices?
Animals and people.
On what scale do you think this was happening?
Enormous.
Right. Is this the beginning of the video?
Can't. 42 seconds in.
Okay, cool. Keep going.
Far beyond what we've ever heard of here before.
Teresa's mother, Bridget.
You're talking about mass murder.
Yes. On a scale that this country's never heard of before. Like the old people's homes now, only these are...
For the first time, Teresa is learning what it's like to live with love instead of fear.
Pretty though.
In this quiet English village, with the help of her mother, she's slowly repairing her broken life. Teresa is now 15, but at the age of 2, she was left in the care of this woman, the grandma she called Nan. And that, she says, is when her torment started.
Who was the leader? Who was the boss of the gang, of the cult?
At home it was my nan.
Your Nan made you have sex with animals.
Yeah. Like goats and donkeys.
The story of Teresa is a story almost too horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we normally associate with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I have ever had to tell.
How many men or how many people would have sex with you?
What, at one time?
Yes.
About everyone who was there, which must have been about 20. You know, from 10 to 20 people. If it was a big ceremony, it used to be 30.
What would your grandma be doing when these men were forcing themselves on you?
Usually laughing or smiling or having sex with another man or other men.
A chronicle of debauchery and depravity so horrific it's hard to believe. You have to ask yourself.
So this girl said she was given to her nan at the age of 2, and she was basically brought up in the satanic cult where they were having these rituals where they were having her to have sex with goats and donkeys, and then they were also having orgies where she's saying like up to 20 men would be running through her, and then also the nan who was the leader of that particular cult or coven would also be having sex with other men, right? So what can we take from this in the sense that they didn't clearly use the word there, but that goes into pedophilia, because she was basically being abused from the age of 2. Now, we know that in these satanic cults, they do ritual child abuse to very small children because they believe that a child is more, to defile a child is greater than to defile a full-grown adult. So they do that to get power, spiritual power on the left-hand side. So that's why they do these wicked acts. Now, with what's coming out in the mainstream media now in regards to the Epstein files, this is something that people used to want to sweep under the carpet and be like, oh, no, that's not really happening. Nah, she's probably maybe she took a bad dose of, maybe she smoked too much weed, or, she's tripping and she imagined it all. And the funny thing is that that's what psychologists would say as well. A lot of these trained psychologists and doctors, these young children will go to them and tell them these stories thinking that they're going to help them. But then all the psychologists do is try and say, maybe you fantasized it, maybe you made it up. We're going to prescribe you these drugs, which end up dulling your senses and numbing your mind to where you can't even think straight or function properly. But guess what? They've won when they do that, because what they're trying to do is suppress this information. And these Satanists, they've infiltrated every echelon of society, be it the police force, be it your GP, your medical, when you go to the hospital. Like I said, these psychologists who work in the psychology wing of mental health department, stuff like that. You try and go to a lawyer, a law firm, to try and get representation. Guess what? They're all in on it too. So you can't really go to anybody for help. See, when they put up these signs, oh, please report your missing child to Childline or whatever, a lot of the times the people who run these organizations like Childline, guess what? They're in on it too. So when you think that, oh well, they're there to help, because every year they'll put on the BBC. When I was a child, it was going. I don't know if it's still going, but they used to put that Pudsey Bear, on TV and say, oh, donate to children in need, or donate to Red Nose Day, and you have these idiots like Lenny Henry on there acting like they're good, caring, philanthropic people who really give a shit about starving children in Africa, all this stuff. All of these philanthropic ventures, right, that you see these celebrities do, it's all a front, because they don't really give a shit. They don't give a shit. They're behind closed doors, raping, murdering, and sacrificing little babies, right? So why the hell are they going to care about starving children in India or starving children in Africa? It's all PR. They do it to look good, in the public eye, because really what they're doing behind closed doors is reprehensible. It's unexcusable. So therefore, every time they come on your TV screen and they got their grinning teeth and their smiling faces, it's all an act. It's all an act to deceive the public away from knowing the true darkness of what is taking place in society. But now this darkness is being exposed. And as I said, with these Epstein files, it's showing that the network, the interconnected network that is running in this world, all around the world, not just here in the UK, but all over the world, where they're funneling these children in to be sacrificed to their gods which are some of the gods that are spoken of in the Bible, such as Baal, Molech, but ultimately their god is Satan. Right? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I got a precept, if I may. So this
Go ahead.
is Second Ezra 6 and 27. It says, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." And that's the time that we're in now. All right, you really need to unpack this. It says, "For evil shall be put out." Right, and all that deceit that these things ain't happening behind the scenes, or when the victims of this of this kind of abuse, when they try and go to these different organizations to get some kind of help, they're being gaslighted on a completely diabolical level, that these things didn't happen. All of that is coming to an end, but this faith that we have is what's flourishing. This corruption that we see taking place is going to be overcome, man, and that's being overcome by this truth. And you see, we started off this lesson with Isaiah chapter 59 and 15, where it says, "Yeah, truth faileth, and he that departeth himself from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment." Because there's this has been going on for however long it's been going on, and there's been no judgment for it, man.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's never going to be a judgment for it, because what happened is Esau didn't consider his latter end, which really, if I may,
Yeah,
can I
go
read
ahead.
verses
Go
in
ahead.
Isaiah 47, Bob Kushar?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is Isaiah 47 and 6. It says, "I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke." Right, and that's the hardcore bondage that we served all day. Uh, the person who was of old age was expected to displace the same output as a young, stronger man. He heavily laid his yoke upon us. Even today, when you look at the Israelite family structure, I couldn't tell you, I couldn't count on one hand how many Israelites I know that got passed down some sort of hefty inheritance from their progenitor. But when it comes to these Edomites, maybe a little, 500,000, little 100,000 left there for so and so, this, that, or you get to keep that house or keep that car, or all written in the will. We don't have that, man, because that yoke has been heavily laid upon our people by Esau, man.
May I add to that? Just quickly. Yeah, like you said, we don't really get an inheritance. All we inherit is debt from our parents. But you see, the Edomite children, when they hit age 16 or age 18 or whatever, they've got a car, like brand new car, waiting for them on their 18th birthday from their parents.
Yep.
Brand new off the showroom. Yeah. But Jake, you have to scrimp and save and find your own money to pay for your driving lessons if you're lucky enough to have a parent that has a car. Because a lot of Jake, don't have they might have one parent and that parent doesn't have a car. So when you want to learn to drive now, it's even more difficult because you've not got a car to practice in. Whereas these Edomites, they throw the child the keys or whatever. Yeah, go take your lesson or whatever. It's much easier for them. But you carry on.
Plus, if they happen to have to work, a lot of us, Jake, once we got out the education system, we hopped on the grind, man, in whatever shape or form that may have been. So if these Edomite children, if in the case that they have to work, they don't have to contribute to nothing in that house, man. They get to take home all that pay, their salary, and just spend it how they want, man. I remember I got my first paycheck, man. My mom let me know. So this is what's happening here, nigga. You paying this? You paying that?
Yeah.
That's how it goes, man. But let's read on anyway. Verse 7 says, "And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. So you see, Esau, Edom, he's not considering the latter end of where this is going to lead to for him, right? He's just, verse 8 says it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Verse 11, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. And the funny thing is, this is exactly what we're seeing now, because we are literally in the midst of the downfall of Esau, Edom's kingdom, and it all lines up because I think in June they're going to be celebrating 250 years, man, of America being established. And we already know that empire's average lifespan is around 250 years. And look at the rate of events leading up to that.
Yeah.
Right. There's one more verse. Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. So you see, the Heavenly Father got a sense of humor here, man. You know, he's pretty much being sarcastic, because all of that wickedness, you know, Esau, Edom is not going to be able to escape the judgment, man. And as we brought out earlier in Genesis 4, you know, they're gonna be in that spirit of their forefather Cain, where he said his judgment is greater than he can bear. But you know what? He's gonna have to bear it, because we just read that he heavily laid the yoke upon us, man. So, and this is how the Heavenly Father dealt with a people that he loves. So how is he gonna deal with a people that he hates, man?
Yep. Well, let's answer that question. Baba Kashar, get Malachi chapter 1, verses 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 1, and verse 1. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever.
Right. So these are the people who the Lord has indignation against forever. So do you think these people follow the Bible? No, they don't follow the Bible. They follow the Talmud and the Kabbalah. Right. So they try and act as if they're us. You know, they try and pretend that they're really God's chosen people when they do anything but what the scriptures command them to do. They've got their own beliefs and their own teachings, but they're masquerading as the people of the Lord. Let's get back to the video, Baba Kashar.
Khan.
Could Teresa be just making it up?
No. I know what's true and what's not. No, I know what I saw.
Children don't make up elaborate lies that this would have to be if it was a lie, which I know it is not. It isn't.
This couldn't be a terrible dream, a nightmare that you're reliving.
No. It's no dream. It's a nightmare, but it's not one you can wake up from. It's there all the time.
This really happened. You're quite sure of that?
Yeah.
The police don't think Teresa made up a story. Some of the cult members are to stand trial. 5 men have been charged with rape. As for Nan, the grandmother, she's 61 and lives in this council flat in South London. She's charged on 7 counts of aiding and abetting rape and 2 counts of performing abortions on Teresa. If you're finding this hard to believe, so did I at first. But then there are the medical reports, evidence of sustained sexual abuse. And there's this, a statement prepared for 60 Minutes by Teresa's psychiatrist. It says, in my opinion, Teresa's account is not the product of a psychotic illness, nor the figment of a fertile imagination. I believe her to be telling the truth.
I know what's true and what's not.
We also took Teresa's story to this man, therapist Ray Wire. He reads a transcript of our interview and listens to her voice.
It's no truth.
Few people, if any, in Britain have counselled as many victims of satanic abuse or Satanists themselves as Ray Wire has. If there is an expert on satanic cults, it would have to be him.
Do you believe Teresa's story?
I believe Teresa's story. It's exactly the same story as I've heard from men who says they've done it.
You've dealt with other cases like hers?
Yes.
21 cases like hers, he says, in the past 2 years alone.
Themes like they were put in boxes with spiders and worms, where they were trapped in fear, where there was a high use of excrement and urine, where there was talk of human sacrifice.
Take just one of those.
He said, talk of being put in boxes with spiders and stuff. Now, why do they do that thing to people? To induce fear. Because, as we know, when children experience a great deal of fear, it releases a certain chemical in their blood, which will cause it to produce adrenochrome. And that adrenochrome is what these Satanists like to drink because they believe it gives them, it will lead them to immortality. Because what they're really trying to do is they're trying to get the birthright back, because the blessing of the birthright went to Jacob and his descendants, and that birthright was to be immortal. So Esau is doing his best to try and come up on the left-hand side to gain immortality. That's why they like to drink blood, because they believe it's... we done the lesson on it a few weeks ago with that guy who was talking to those Jake women at the dinner table about how rich their blood is in stem cells and how it's life to people. Yeah, this is the real deal. This is the real shit. And if you notice what this man on the right here said, he said, because this is the thing, they're glossing over a lot of stuff. They're bringing it out, which is good, but they're glossing over certain points. He said a high use of urine and excrement. So what are they doing with this urine and this excrement? In a lot of cases, it's foul to even consider, but they're eating it. Now, I want to bring something out. Bear with me, I've got my other device here. This is a document from the Department of Justice website, where you'll find a lot of the Jeffrey Epstein files related to Jeffrey Epstein case, like the emails and the FBI documents and stuff like that. So I've got a document here that I want to read. For those of you who does it have the number here? It's lucky it doesn't say the document number on the screen, but I'm going to read it out to you. Okay, so this says RE interview of purported Epstein victim dated Wednesday the 28th of August 2019. It says, because this is the email communication between 2 FBI agents, it says he had more to tell us. He said, he said he had more to tell us. Then the other person says, thanks. I didn't realize that Bush raped him too. Okay. Then it goes back to the original email. It says, I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victim. It says, while he was on this yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. Now, I'm just going to say it roaring as it is, because a lot of people on YouTube, they piss me off when they beep out certain words, like, you know, because they don't want to get demonetized. Oh, we can't say the word pedophile. Oh, we can't say the word rape. Oh, we can't say the word, you know, death. They beep out all these words, but you got to come real with this shit, because at the end of the day, you know, this stuff, it needs to be brought to light. People need to feel the emotions that it generates when they hear about the wickedness, right? So it says, so he said he saw some African American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. What does that mean? It means that those women were very, very young, because the only time a woman bleeds, under normal circumstances, usually the circumstances in which a woman bleeds when having sex is when her hymen is broken, meaning that when you take her virginity. So these must have been very young girls that were being raped on this yacht. And what Edomites do as well, and they've been doing this since slavery days, man. You know, they talk about, you know, getting that Mandingo Jake to lay with certain women. Like Edomites, Edomites are freaks, man. They'll get some, you know, some Jake to, you know, smash their wife, and they'll sit there watching, and they'll be enjoying that. You know, Esau's a really weird character, so they'll get off on that shit. This is next verse. It said, not verse, next sentence. It says, he was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. Yeah, this is what your so-called world leaders, your politicians, your celebrities, your distinguished, you know, high society Edomite men. This is the shit they be doing behind closed doors, because this is in Esau's spirit to do that. The scriptures say, the spirit that is in him is not upright in him.
Right, man.
Go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Nah, just you know, just back, you know, off the point of what you're saying. This is Psalms 58:3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Because it's like when you actually sit there and deep it, it's like, why would you even want to do those things? But as the brother Kalab mentioned, the spirit that's in him is not upright, man. But you know, we can't sugarcoat it no more. You know, and you know, they've pulled the wool over people's eyes for so long that the idea of it actually happening is foreign. You know, Psalm 64:5 says, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? But you see, they're being exposed now. All their wickedness, excuse me, is coming to light. It says, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them is deep, of every one of them, and the heart is deep. So they accomplish a diligent search, you know, because, you know, you mentioned the adrenochrome some moments back. And it's like, you know, what kind of Frankenstein level of research and experimenting did you have to do to even discover that particular hormone, I believe it is, and
yep.
You know, understand that if you was to extract that from a baby specifically that's in fear, that, you know, that is like basically the fountain of youth.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, the thing is as well, they're very prideful, man, because what do they say? The best place to hide the truth is in plain sight. You know, they actually let you know on some level that they do this, man. Like, you know, that whole concept of the adrenochrome thingy, you know, when you look at the children's film, what's it, Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
That whole concept basically insinuates that, you know. So this is happening for real, and it's being exposed.
Yeah, Monsters Inc., their whole society is ran off the fear of children. But they were going through and they were going through portals as well. The demons were going into the children's room, scaring the children, collecting the fear, and that's what was powering their whole city. Well, that's the same case of Esau's society. It runs off of the blood of sacrificed children, sorry to say. But you know, you got a lot of children who are bred into this lifestyle, and some of them are born simply to be sacrificed.
Mm.
And another thing as well is that the higher you get in Esau society, you have to make offerings, right? That's why you hear about a lot of celebrities, their mum's coming up dead, their sister is coming up dead, or their brother. But the highest sacrifice that in their world you could offer to Satan is one of your children.
Mm.
And that goes back to the scriptures where it says, you should not cause your children to pass through the fire. So a lot of these celebrities will sometimes get pregnant and it won't be reported. Like, you know, you might see, they just might dip out of the spotlight for a little while and then they pop up again. But like, sometimes they dip away, they have this baby and they sacrifice that baby. And when they come back, their career is booming all of a sudden.
Yep.
Because one of the greatest gifts they say you could offer is of your children. And this goes back to, you know, ancient Babylon, ancient Egypt, all these other nations. This has always been a thing. But it's just in today's society, people forgot about it because Esau's done a good cover-up job of making it seem like it never really happened. But this American society is so far removed from all those other ancient cultures that that was just in the ancient past. It doesn't happen anymore. No, it's been going on for the longest time, but Esau's done a good job of hiding it. Now, we said we was going to do this lesson in 2 parts. It's just gone 20 past 5, so let's end this part for now. We'll come back and we'll do a part 2, maybe even a part 3, Lord willing, because there's a lot of meat to unpack from this topic, so we can really get into it on a deeper level. But Lord willing, this has been edifying for the moment. There's one last thing I wanted to say though, because I forgot to mention this in this document I'm reading. Right, let me just read this again. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines being removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. It says he was also raped by George Bush 1. Right? So that's George Bush, who was the president after Ronald Reagan in the early 90s, right? It says, let me just read a bit more because it'll finish off this document, right? Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the director of True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website. See the slander there? Oh, it's a conspiracy. Attempting to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record as a result of FBI investigation for copyright infringement. Let me know if you want to discuss the former FBI agent that called this into head office. See, because the FBI is doing a damn good cover-up job, right? Because they're on the payroll of these elites, yeah? And they're scared into silence as well, because when they go against the orders, they end up turning up suicided too, right? So it goes on to say in the previous statement, on Tuesday, August 27th, 2019, myself and SA conducted an interview for a purported victim of Jeffrey Epstein, as per the referral of FBI, such and such, redacted. Journalist Michael Moore, the filmmaker. The results are as follows. At 1200 hours, a male identified one, and the names are blacked out, 2 names here, and arrived at the C20 office, stated he was unemployed and resides with his mother and her unemployed morbidly obese boyfriend, stated that he has ingested hallucinogenic mushrooms as well as other illicit substances in the past and currently smokes marijuana, reported being raped, sodomized by his great uncle since the age of 5 years old until the age of 22, described meeting Epstein at a yacht club in RI. One of his relatives was a member, first at age 5, then later at aged 8. States he was raped, sodomized by Epstein in 2000 on a large yacht, as well as by former US President William Clinton, which is Bill Clinton. States also that the current President Trump, along with his wife Melania, were present during the said yacht trip in the year 2000. Trump was not married to his current spouse Melania until 2005. Reports being raped by Epstein and Clinton and was in a heavily drug-induced state. Stated all of the above incidents were recovered repressed memories until he began therapy sometime in 2016. Offered no supporting or corroborating evidence or witnesses that could be contacted. Appeared to me emotionally unbalanced and not intoxicated. At this time, it is not recommended that any additional investigative resources be expanded concerning this claim. So they done tried to kick the can down the road,
Yep.
sweep the shit under the carpet. But guess what? Now we're living in the age of information, and all these things are coming to the light. But I know your time is of the essence, so we'll wrap it up there. But I just wanted to finish reading that in one go, because just to make it coherent. In the next lesson, we'll go into other topics pertaining to this topic of the video that we're on. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up here for now. Lord willing, it's been edifying.
Baba Kushar, can I just bring up one more preset?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. This is Luke 12 and verse 2. It says, "For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known." So there you have it, man. You know, this is all coming to the surface. It's all being revealed now. And yeah, we're living in the time of Esau's judgment, man. And before Esau's judgment comes to its full fruition, he's going to be exposed on every level, you know, to prove, to justify the judgment that's going to come upon him, man. The righteous indignation. So yeah,
That's right. Nobody's going to mourn Esau when he's taken out of power, because it's going to be righteous judgment. So yeah, with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. And shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. We'll catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Lord willing. Shalom for now.
Shalom.